we got the claws working this way. It actually faded out properly. That's cool. Welcome to this newest week for January 19th, 2022. The live cast, whatever we're going to call this thing, live hangout with me, John Hess. And I finished up the second season of For All Mankind. I wanted to start this stream today and talk about that, as you guys are kind of coming in here. Stragglers are coming in. I don't publish the time, so I can't blame you guys for not being here on time. That's just my fault. But I finished the second season. I've got to say that the show really is probably my favorite thing on Apple Plus right now. I got Apple Plus to see Ted. Happy almost New Year, to see Ted, that show with Ted. Gosh, I can't remember the show's name. Ted Lasso. And I like Ted Lasso a lot, but I think this show is better. I think For All Mankind is actually a better show. And I think it may not be getting the kind of attention it should, because it is on a smaller streamer, because Apple TV is not really that well known as far as streaming services go. But I think it is absolutely one of the best shows out there. I think partly because it plays to my favorite things, which are basically space and drama. But I think what I really wanted to talk about in regards to For All Mankind is really the way it kind of, to me, reinvigorates the two-person talking scene drama. Term I like to hear, I often heard used, and maybe is a good way to describe it, is the family kitchen drama. Basically, the stuff that happens when you're in when you're people talking in the kitchen. And to kind of give you kind of a reference, like I was really into Downton Abbey for a long time, for the first 2 seasons, but then the structure of the show became really apparent to me. Basically, Downton Abbey would become, oh, this person has an issue, they need to go talk to this person, and they meet in a drawing room, and they sit on the couch and they sip tea. Oh, but Mr. Belvedere has gone off to the war, and we must come back to society. And then it's usually Maggie Smith who'll be like, oh, well, she'll make smart-ass quip remark. And then everyone, and it's just so, if you do that for a little bit, it's fine. But when the whole seasons are just piling on scene after scene of just two people just sitting in a drawing room talking to each other, and it doesn't feel like the plot is being furthered along, it kind of, I started losing interest in Downton Abbey. And I think I started losing interest about season 3. But, there we go. Some concurrent people are starting to roll back in. But For All Mankind, season 2 really surprised me with how they treated a lot of the dialogue scenes. And it kind of reinvigorated my approach to maybe thinking about how to create my own little scenes, my little scene studies. And that's really kind of one of the things I wanted to do this year with Filmmaker IQ, is to get back into that thing and start shooting some little scene studies, and putting them on Filmmaker IQ and letting you guys talk about it, and we go through the whole process. But I'll give you an example. And a friend of mine, we were watching this in Vegas, and he hadn't seen any of the show, and I was just like, oh, he was taking a shower, and I was like, I just want to watch this. Well, he came out of the shower, we started watching this, and it was one of those things where you could kind of step into the show, and I could tell you, okay, this character's backstory, I'll give you a little quick backstory on all the characters, and you can follow along. It's sort of like it's a soap opera, essentially. I mean, I don't want to, it's not a denigration to call For All Mankind sort of a soap opera, because it is a soap opera, but it's a soap opera, a melodrama, I guess, maybe the more appropriate term for it. And again, not trying to denigrate the quality of the show. It's a melodrama based in a historical what-if scenario. And it allows you to play with just different ideas of how history could have turned out if one thing was different, And in the case of All Mankind, it's the Soviet rocket engineer who didn't die, because in the real world he died, and that kind of derailed the Soviet space program. And what if he didn't die and they made it to the moon first? That kind of thing. So anyhow, I'll tell you, there's this one scene that kind of he walked in and we watched this one scene and we both agreed this was a stellar scene because it didn't go where you thought it would, and it wasn't one of those scenes where it's just people sitting around sipping tea and going, "Oh, well, Mr. Dia." I'm not going to do the scene again, but I'll just share the scene. So there's this one character named Gordo, who is like who was on the moon for a long time, but now he's just kind of a slubby character. He's made up his mind he's going to go back, so he's trying to get himself into shape. But his ex-wife is going on the moon, and this guy goes to the new husband of his ex-wife, and it's just like a normal scene talking, and all of a sudden, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil a little bit, but if you haven't watched it, it won't make sense to you, so it doesn't matter. He just says, "Yeah, while I'm on the moon, I'm going to win back Tracy," and you're just like, whoa. Where did that come from? It came from out of the blue. And the way that scene played out, it was just a 2-actor scene, took place in a nice home, and it wasn't, production wise, it wasn't like super crazy special, but it was a brilliantly written scene that had ups and downs and had like, the conflict between the two characters. And it was great. It was just really, really wonderful. You guys are real quiet today here. I'm seeing some people coming in here, but not no one's saying hi. So you're all entranced with what I'm saying, I guess. Unless I turned off chat or something. Let's see, make sure, because chat is so much part of the show. Let's see. Do I have chat turned on? I think I do. Anyhow, while I look at this, I can talk a little about. Do I have everything turned on? Oh, there's some chat coming through. There we go. David says, there is some chat coming through. David said, good scene, but would have been better if they were sipping tea. In fact, they were sipping brandy. And the funny thing about that scene is they were sipping brandy that was originally bought by Thomas Jefferson. So the guy who makes a kind of a big show about how rich and successful he is. Oh, this is brandy that that Thomas Jefferson bought, and I bought it, And the guy's like, oh, I don't, So they were sipping something. But it kind of really made me appreciate, like, just a different approach to the two-person scene study. And so, you think about it, so much of cinema and so much of theater and so much of anything really is two-person acting. And Charles says, "I'm sorry, it was quiet because I wanted your take on the show." So I guess I didn't give you guys a full take on it. I really loved it. I thought it was a great show, and I think the ending, not to trudge up the drama that I had when I had an issue with Squid Game, because I really did not like Squid Game. But I feel like this show, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to spoil it, so I'm not going to give you details. But the point of the ending of the season 2 made me is an approach toward how I view the world, a much closer approach to how I view the world than something like Squid Game, which was just, I felt nihilistic and didn't care about, just defeatist. And partly because, the creator of For All Mankind is Ronald Moore. Yeah, Ronald Moore. And of course he got his start with Star Trek, and Star Trek is kind of closer to my particular thinking about the world. And basically, I'll just say this as much. They are put into an impossible situation. But the thing is, both sides of the situation don't want to do the thing that everyone expects them to do. And so they have to find, instead of a binary, they find a different solution. And the final episode is titled The Gray. So, that's all I would say about that. But I think it's fantastic. I think it's worth definitely checking out on Apple Plus. It's worth the $12. Get Apple Plus for a month. Watch that. Watch Ted Lasso, because Ted Lasso's cute and fun. You can watch the Foundation show. That's the other reason why I got it. Foundation, I'll forget about Foundation. I won't forget about For All Mankind. Speaking of which, David S. Lisa says, I haven't watched the series. I did enjoy Foundation, but I just loved listening to you and still waiting to the defense of vertical video. Oh, yeah, I know. Gosh. I just, there's so many things I got to do. Defense of vertical video has got to be one of them. But I think, unfortunately, I feel like, well, I feel like I don't really need to defend it anymore because it seems like YouTube shorts and TikTok videos, basically they are all vertical. No one would make a TikTok video in a horizontal. Yeah, or they could, but most of them are vertical. Hi, Rick. Thanks for the super chat, man. You're always a great sponsor, man. John, are all those things Nat, Faye, Jessica behind you 3D printed? Yes, they are. Oh, so you want to see some? Okay, so Natalie, yeah, Natalie, the Black Widow there. I just finished this one. The other day, and that is the Faye Valentine from the anime. I got like super into Faye Valentine, or super into Cowboy Bebop in general. Basically, after the show came out, and I watched one episode of the show, and I thought, nope, this show sucks, and I just went back and watched the anime, and I fell in love with the anime, and frankly, I think. I mean, personally, I think they did Faye Valentine dirty on the show. Just absolutely rotten. Oh. Putting her back, make sure her gun is pointed toward me. But yeah, everything back there is all 3D printed and painted by me because that's why I enjoy doing that. It's kind of like my zen is to paint and create models and stuff like that. David Simmons, hey, welcome. Yeah, David Simmons says the show is fantastic. Period piece. Also, the writing has been really creative representation of alternate. I think you're absolutely right. The writing is what makes that show special because so much of what those two-person scenes, you walk into every scene thinking, oh, I know how this is going to go, but it doesn't go that way. I mean, not to give away spoilers, but there's a scene in there in the second season. I think the second season's writing is better than the first. The first was really good, but first was like setting the universe. The second season, you get to see some really amazing things. There's a scene where the daughter comes in and she wants to go to Annapolis, the Naval Academy. And the dad who went to Annapolis Naval Academy has a very unexpected reaction to it. And it turns out to be like one of the most intense scenes in the whole show. This reaction to it, and you think like, oh, he'd be proud. It throws you a curveball, and it's just so well done. I think, I guess this is why this is the kind of stuff that turns me on about filmmaking. This is really why I care. I want to do filmmaking. I love playing with cameras. Don't get me wrong. I like playing with that kind of stuff, but it all serves a purpose, and that purpose to me has always been those kinds of stories, and dealing with how reality works, how interpersonal relationships work, how just how people react with each other. To me, that's always more interesting. So I guess I might as well say it. So what we're trying to work on, the plan going forward, again, these are plans, and you know what God thinks of plans, right? He laughs at plans, or she, depending on your persuasion. But my plan was, I want to create, I want to write three short movies, very short scene studies, 3 of them. And I'm going to make them, because of For All Mankind has inspired me to do this, I want to make them family kitchen dramas. I want to say it. I'm going to announce it here. So you're going to get, we're like 30 minutes into this thing, or 10 minutes into this thing. So you're going to get a sneak peek. So I'm going to try to write 3 scene studies, and they're going to be like 2 people scene studies. And then I'll do a table read, and I'm going to do a table read and then put it out as a video. So what I'm going to do, and this is our idea, what we're going to do is we're going to have you guys vote on which one you want me to produce, and then I'll produce that one as a actual finished video, a little scene study kind of short film. So I really want to do that. I think that would be a really good way for me to get my jonesing in 2 years of the pandemic, and literally the last 2 years I've shot nothing but stuff you can only watch if you fast forward. I wish, I was telling another friend of mine that I'm tired of making stuff that you can only watch if you fast forward through it. Like once you've done the first pass as an edit, like you have to fast forward it just so you can like actually get through it. No, I want to make something. I want to make something with story and acting, and I've been chomping at the bit for it. I've been kind of dying inside about it. So that's what I want to do. So we have. I won't tell you I won't bore you with the details of the table read yet, because I will leave that as a surprise. And they're going to be short, no longer than 5 pages. So short scene studies, and then we will shoot them, and we'll do the whole. We'll shoot the behind the scenes, and we'll, show you how it's done. And I'm not gonna go crazy and like get super expensive stuff. And so we're gonna show you how you can do this stuff too. It's, the other day, it's funny. It's funny, the other day, yesterday actually, I was in one of my comment replies on YouTube, and I obviously got to stop reading some of these YouTube comments, but they started accusing me of being an elitist because I was against 32-bit recording. Or not against it, but I don't see the value of 32-bit float recording, and therefore I'm an elitist. And I think you couldn't be further from the truth. I really would like to show you guys, because I think barring the actual moon base of the For All Mankind, it's something that a lot of, and also some of the NASA sets and the NASA mission control sets and stuff like that. It's not. It's a large part of the show could be shot and made by basically anybody. Literally anybody, and if we can just create our own stories, we don't have the large, NASA background and the space and, the moon base. And of course, that is the draw of the show, obviously. But the other parts, we can all do it. We can all do, and I think maybe that's something that's missing in as far as film. Well, when I look at some of the popular filmmaking channels, there seems to be an obsession with basically, shooting guns and action and stunts and all that, which are all fine and dandy. I'm not against a fist fight or two, but I feel like sometimes, maybe we need to do a little bit of drama. Will it be filmed in 30 FPS? Oh, absolutely. I'm going to shoot it in 60 frames. No, I'm going to shoot it in 120 frames a second. Just so I can show you how horrible the acting. No, just kidding. Are you kidding me? Hey, Xham DXX from Iran. How you doing? Hopefully, I wonder if they're still running my shows on Iranian TV. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting paid by the Iranians for that, but it is what it is. And life, c'est la vie, as they say. C'est la vie. So. Yeah, but 32-bit is so expensive. How could that make you an elitist? So the argument why I'm an elitist is because I say that if you follow these procedures, if you follow some basic guidelines of how to record audio, you will never clip. And then people say, well, I'm not a. Well, I say that, and then they'll say like, well, even the professional audio recorders clip. I say, yeah, sure they do, but it's not because of the technology, because of user error. So even professional sound recorders, if they follow these basic guidelines, they will never clip, and it just period, never ever. And apparently that makes me the elitist because I'm kind of gatekeeping. I'm saying if you do clip, that's because you are a bad person or you are not good at sound recording, which I don't know, maybe it's true. It just means you didn't follow the guideline, So that makes me the elitist. I am the elitist for telling people that you can go out and just use, relatively old technology, basic stuff. You can find a used Zoom that records 24-bit recording. You can find that, that stuff. Or use the one you already have, because a lot of people watching the channel have sound recorders. You can use that and still get all the functionality. But no, I'm the elitist. I'm super elite because I say that. Because I say you don't need to buy new technology. That's what it made sense. Anyhow, oh, there we go. Rigel7 says, I'm planning to do a front projection for a school project that I bite off something I can't chew. It is very, so though I would warn you with that. Here's, I think, the primary problem with that, so and you're going to counter this, is that you need a lot of light from the front projection. So if you're going to do front projection, like you need some seriously a powerful projector, because those things are not designed to be very cheap. Projectors are not very bright. It's just, the truth is, you can't get a sub $1,000 projector to really put out the kind of light you would need to not only to be able to capture it with a camera, so you're going to be fighting that balance. That's going to be the hardest part about doing any kind of projection. Not to say it can't be done. I did some, way back in the day, I did some very fun experiments where I put a, I actually make it sound like a dirty old man. I put a nude model in front of a projector but I used the old classic overhead projectors. So I would print out these patterns on these clear styrene sheets, and I would project them onto like a nude model, and it created a really cool effect. And when you're working that, it was cool. I really enjoyed doing that. I feel like I would like to do more of that, but it's like, where am I going with this art? I don't know. I'm not really making anything. I know, getting raunchy, right? I mean, what I did was quite literally, like on the border of, it's PG-13 slash, it's like PG-13 style kind of thing. Like, I wasn't like full frontal nudity kind of thing. It was more like hiding stuff in shadows. But it's fun. It was fun. Hey, do I know anything about Tom Cruise and is Iron Man? That would be interesting to watch. That would be interesting to watch. 32-bit had helped a lot with the wedding photography I do, which is all alive, which has been a big help with clipping. So I'll push back on that because I just shot a funeral a couple days ago, and because I was like, well, I'm a big proponent of 32-bit. I gotta like walk the walk now, right? So I set my levels, and I was trying to balance the levels to make sure I got the right, because I had to stream it as well. But I recorded at 24-bit, and basically, really, what you do is you make sure you are your audio levels are so that your peaks don't go above -20. Your average peaks. Now, when you're doing a sound check. Now, when they did the sound check, they had everything turned down kind of low. And then, like halfway through, they decide, oh, we need to crank this up a little bit. And they cranked it up, and I was still fine. No peaking at all. In fact, I was worried the other thing would happen, because we had one guy. It was a funeral, so a lot of older folks there. I'm not gonna they were a lovely family, lovely, but a couple of them were kind of Grandpa Simpson-like. But they had one guy that was, they don't know how to hold a microphone. So like, I'm just pretend this is like a Shure SM50 microphone. Usually you talk into a microphone like that, right? This is how you would talk into a microphone. But he started talking like this, like, hi, in 1954, we went down, and then somebody would say, hey, okay, move the mic closer to your mouth. He's like, oh, okay. In 1954, we wore an onion on our belt, as was the style at the time. And so I was like super afraid the audio was actually going to be too low, because I had to crank it. I had to crank it on my camera, because I was recording with a Zoom, and I was sending wireless from the Zoom to my camera, and my camera was running to the stream. So I had to crank the crap out of it in my camera, and I was hearing like a lot of background noise, because when someone's holding a microphone like an ice cream cone, you can hear a lot of background noise. But I popped it into Premiere, and I ran it through Audition, and I just cranked it up and did a little bit of a noise reduction on it, and it sounds super clean, super good. So even 24-bit, you can get away with live stuff really easily. Yeah, Charles Hoppin says James Bond opening credits level nudity. Exactly. So I stole the idea not from James Bond, although James Bond probably does very similar to what I was doing. And you gotta admit, I love those James Bond opening intros. It just, that perfect level of sexiness, but it's not sexy. It's artistic as well. But anyhow, I stole it from a a review in Vegas called at the Crazy Horse in MGM. I forget the name of it, but the whole review was basically the dancers, and they would project lights on the girls, and they would do their dance, but with projected lights. And it was French thing. It's the French. Blame the French. Oh, you bunch of Puritans. The college has a bunch of overhead projectors, but I don't know their output. Yeah, well, the good thing with overhead projectors is they're a lot more powerful than like your standard, at home movie projector. Like those just aren't that powerful, but the overhead projector is. Now, couple things to be concerned about the overhead projector is they do utilize a Fresnel lens. It's a pretty quality lens, so you're getting pretty sharp images, but you will see the little ridges of the Fresnel lens. It's a really really tight Fresnel lens on that projector. You will see it. But if you're using it as a front projection or something like that, and it's not, and you can slightly blur it out, use a shallow depth of field, just blur out the background a little bit, that solves that problem. So that's a way to do it. But yeah, good luck with that. It's just it's tricky. It's kind of tricky. Here's a good question. Have you got a home cinema setup that you could boast about? No, no. In fact, I watched some of that stuff on my mom's TV because I sit with her in her room. She took over the family room, so she has a bed there. I'll keep her company, but I watched it in standard definition. I know on an old CRT TV from probably 2003. Yeah, I'm not, and like my other TVs from 2006, which I think is still a really good TV. I don't have the space in my house really for cinematic experience. I wish I did. Filming a funeral must be the most depressing job you can get as a filmmaker. Not really, because funerals. I mean, like the funerals that I've shot aren't real. There's not. Well, I've shot a couple. I shot one wake, which was they actually had. I didn't shoot it though. I streamed it. It was like a 3-hour. It's the weirdest thing. It was a 3-hour wake at a small chapel, and here I was going to take your comment off. And it was literally the body was in the chapel, and I had 2 cameras in the back, and this is during COVID too, so like they couldn't, they wanted to stream it because they didn't want all the people coming, all that stuff, and it was literally 3 hours on stream of just occasionally somebody would go up there and say something about the deceased, and then they would just come back and sit. And just sit, it's not from my tradition, my cultural tradition. Somewhat Christian, Chinese. We don't have that kind of thing in my experience. Like maybe it's a Catholic thing. I'm not sure, but it was literally 3 hours of people on Zoom watching nothing. This guy just kind of shot a chapel, and we would roll in like maybe we had a little slideshow with a bunch of like 300 photos they gave me. I just threw them in Lightroom, and it's like, okay, make a slideshow, and we kind of like do picture in picture with that, just to kind of keep things a little more interesting. That was the weirdest one. But the funerals I've been shooting, this wasn't really a funeral so much as it was like a celebration of life. It was kind of, like they had 4 people get up and talk about the experiences of the guy, and then these were farmers, and they were lovely people, and they talked to, we had a big giant tri-tip roast sandwich afterward, and because they're dairy farmers, they had dairy ice cream, they had the from their dairy and chocolate milk and all that, and it was a very nice event. None of these feel depressing because they're all about funerals are not really, well, maybe because I haven't been, I've never had a funeral. My dad passed, I didn't have a funeral. But it feels to me like funerals are more about the living, like accepting the person has passed and embracing what they were in their life and appreciating their life rather than like being sour and down. It's not that. It's more about this is great, and all the, and then for the family to see all these people that come and pay their respects, and it's like a good thing, and I've never felt bad about shooting those. It always feels weird though. I'll give you that. It always feels weird to negotiate your price on that. Yeah, as long as you don't film the body. I have kind of a rule about that. Like, we don't want to obviously be disrespectful when you shoot stuff like that. Uh, I have shot a few weddings as an amateur. Those shots are marvelous. Those shoots were marvelous and terrifying at the same time. I've shot about 5 weddings in my life. I'm not a big fan of shooting weddings because they tend to be a little repetitive and it's just not my style. Like once you shoot a wedding, you kind of know how it goes. It's not particularly challenging. Basically, weddings are, they're the same story over and over again. You have reception, or you have the ceremony. You show the bride getting ready, you show the groom getting ready, and then they walk down the aisle and they shoot the portion. And it's basically a live event for the ceremony, and then they go to reception and they first dance and then toasts and then second dance. The father-daughter dance, and it's all the same story. It's over and over and over again. So it's not particularly creative. What changes every time is the background, is the couple. And actually, I just got contacted to shoot a wedding, but my friend Susan does a lot of wedding coordinating, so she occasionally recommends me. She only recommends me when we have something interesting to shoot, because she knows I don't like shooting weddings. But the instruction I got from her was she wants to make it like The Office. I'm like, okay, that could be kind of fun. So, have you watched The Fountain Aronofsky? Look at a phone call coming through here. I have no idea who that is, so I'm going to hang up on him. I'll call him back. I've not watched The Fountain by Aronofsky. Back to space. If you're looking for some space-themed inspiration, check out Love by Tom DeLonge. I know. All joking aside, it's a creative art piece and need for human interaction. Cool. Love. Speaking of space things, The Expanse ended, and The Expanse was truly a terrific show as well. I think The Expanse is a great show in that it puts you in a world outside of reality, whereas something like the For All Mankind puts you inside reality. So if For All Mankind feels like it's now, and The Expanse is like far distant future. Pedro says, does streaming away count as live streaming? Well, for the people that are there. They're not all dead. Celebration of life. That's the way they kind of describe it, as a celebration of life. Although that term wasn't used for what I shot. It was a memorial service is more like what I've heard. But celebration of life is kind of a thing that I've kind of heard being used more. Speaking of The Expanse, by the way, if you like. I really like watching some of the podcasts to do with The Expanse. My phone's going crazy. Oh, it's the doctor. I will return that call here in a second. The Expanse. If you're interested in, and again, this is why I don't know how many of you guys have experience working with like truly dedicated actors that are really into their craft, kind of a thing, because as a director I feel like that kind of thinking about story is, to me, really close to writing. And I think if you're writing something, if you approach it from an acting standpoint, that kind of acting that we're talking about, and it's closer to something like method acting, as a writer, if you can approach things that you can really flesh out the characters and give the actors something to work with. Anyhow, so what I'm saying, I'm getting kind of thrown off by that phone call. I was like, what is that call? So, if you want to watch some actors kind of more at work, you want to check out Ty and That Guy, which, if you're a fan of The Expanse, they have a podcast. They did a podcast for the last season of the show. I think it's kind of done now. Ty and That Guy with Ty Frank, which is one of the original writers for The Expanse, sits down with Wes Chatham. Wes Chatham plays Amos on the show, and Amos is kind of like a tough guy. But Wes Chatham is actually kind of closer to a Marlon Brando style of actor, where he really thinks about the craft, and he talked to the different actors about their choices, and I find it fun to listen to that kind of stuff. Here we go. John Erickson says, I was listening to a Doctor Who director's commentary, and they said that they did a whole day's filming to find one of the cameras did not record. How does such a thing happen and not be noticed? I think it was easier in the film days. Especially Because I mean, Doctor Who probably, I don't know if it was shot on film or not. Some it might have been shot on film, but in those days too, well, maybe film would be harder because you'd hear the film camera rolling, but then you don't have film in there. That could be a problem. Yeah, don't do that. TSG says weddings are like a TV series. There's a Bible of what you shoot and you follow. You follow a script, then you get paid. Pretty much. Yeah, good point. What's your background? Both image and tech, sir. Good sir. I believe that is some sort of moon game. I'm not sure what that is. I think I'm talking about image and tech. My tech background, I'm a business major. Check out a Filipino wake. There's gambling and videoke. Why not? We not to get too heavy, but death is part of life, and fortunately, it is the way it is. It is the cycle of being. It includes the cycle of not being. The Expanse is amazing, superb production, and really well done SFX, plus very decent acting, and some brilliant characters. A real pity it's finished indeed. I mean, hopefully it's not finished, because there is the last 3 books that need to be made. Hopefully Alcon Media does do something with that property. Yeah, and then there is the very last part where the Duarte from Laconia says, I've dealt enough with you. I've got gods to slay. And then that's a little bit of a hint to what's coming up next. Hey, Mindo, how you doing? But I think the great thing about The Expanse is all these other people who are writing shows with trying to push the females are powerful agenda, or females are super powerful creatures, right? All these shows, even Marvel with Ms. Marvel and all that stuff, and all women and girls get it done, and The Expanse does it naturally. Like the women on The Expanse are insanely powerful. The most powerful characters are the women, and it does it so brilliantly that no one can question that. There's no question like, a woman could never do. No, these women could. These women are such badasses, and that's what I love about the show. It accomplishes. Like so many shows try to force diversity, try to force the gender issue. And here's a show that is super diverse and and the women are so powerful, and the men are just as powerful too. It's a mix. Men and women both powerful, but it's because they focus on creating powerful characters. They don't use the diversity or the the gender issue as sort of a selling point. It just is. It's post this kind of like, for lack of a better term, wokeism. It's post trying to enforce this thing. No, it just accepts it, and it creates brilliant characters based on. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You don't try to force this stuff. You just make great characters, and it happens naturally. Of course, maybe it's not natural. Maybe the fact is that those guys just did such a great job writing the show. And one of the last one, they were talking about how there was like constant debates in the back during the productions. Constant. And then they made sure to say that it was a creative debate. It wasn't like they were at each other's throats. It was like, I don't think my character would do this. Well, this is why I think your character. And there would just be this constant push and pull between the creators and the actors and the people that made the show. And that makes it better. It really does. Yeah. Charles says the female characters earn their power, so we see them earn it. So it feels deserved. Totally. Absolutely, David S. says, 100% agree. It's not any kind of agenda, but something simply natural. The whole thing is realistic and believable. Suspension of disbelief. Shut up and take my money. Yeah, the only thing I would suspend disbelief about The Expanse is the fact that they can burn their drives the whole time. Those Epstein drives. By the way, the Epstein drive did not turn itself off. Does that make sense? Never mind. The Epstein drive. Yeah, I mean that's the only thing you have to suspend your disbelief. Like, oh yeah, they got these drives that let them fly through space. But no, it's a great show in that. And think with something like For All Mankind is interesting because For All Mankind is the way it deals with gender politics is also interesting. But I understand it where it kind of transplants modern day assumptions about gender roles into something that would have happened in the 70s. I'm not sure, if the Russians did put a woman on the moon, then NASA would probably want to put a woman in space and all that. But I'm not sure they would have had those kind of same gender priorities back in 1970. So, but it still works because the women characters on that show are all fantastic. There's not a single, they're not, none of them are weak. In fact, the character, that one girl that plays Ellen, who starts off as an astronaut, becomes an administrator, man, she reminds me of Karen Carpenter so much. Anyhow, I skipped some comments. Yeah, I don't always catch them. I'll try to catch them, but we'll see. Hey, Nate's film tutorials. I haven't seen you in a while. Beware of the living. It will get you killed. So now we're going back and catching some comments here. Oh, here's a good question. Chase Williams says, consider updating my desktop computer for a more powerful setup so I can edit feature-length documentaries in 4K. Anything I should keep in mind when looking for a new computer? Good question. So what I would recommend if you're going to edit a documentary in 4K, I don't actually recommend editing the whole thing in 4K. I actually recommend proxies. Like proxies are the great thing of your life, because oftentimes you'll just want to make an edit. And the way your computer runs with a proxy, if you don't know what a proxy is, for those that are watching, so we have 4K footage, which can be like 4K RAW, or it can be 4K H.265, which is really hard for computers. It's ironic that the RAW footage is that RAW, R-A-W, the format RAW, is sometimes actually easier to run than H.265. But you can have all these different formats, and they're all taxing on the computer. But what a proxy is it takes those formats, you re-render them as a smaller file, and something that is very easy for the computer to play back. So you might take a 4K file, you might render a 1280 by 720 proxy version. And when you're editing, you work on that smaller file. And by doing that, you can scrub through footage really. It's zippy. It's super fast. And so if you're working on a documentary, oftentimes when you work on a documentary, it's like, I remember I heard this one sound bite. Where is it? I got to scrub through and find it. It's proxies for documentary work, especially for all kinds of work. Honestly, anything you do that's a long form and you have lots of footage, proxies are the way to go. And also, it takes way less stress off your computer. Not that you can't go wrong with buying a really beefy computer, but the proxy will make life just way better. And realistically, like if you can go like Puget Systems and spend $15,000 for a computer, and you might be able to still, you're still gonna like slow it down with like red footage, red raw and all that stuff. So I would definitely learn the proxy process for 100% sure. And that includes that includes Resolve or Adobe Premiere or whatever you're using. They all have proxies, so definitely. Windows says DaVinci Resolve has a auto proxy built in. Yeah, I'm sure it does. I just don't like editing in Resolve. I just don't like it at all. But Premiere keeps pissing me off, so maybe one day. I don't think I'll switch over. But proxies, period. You need proxies. What else was I say? Okay, so as far as your computer is concerned, then get a pretty beefy system. I don't think, again, unless you got the money for it, if you have the corporate money behind you, then the Puget Systems, $25,000 computer could work for you. But if you get a pretty strong basic video game machine, will probably do most of the work for you. It's really, I don't have a lot of advice as far as what kind of computer to get. Hell, my desktop computer is about 3 or 4 years old now. Well, I have so many peripherals on it. I have so many drives and so many things. So yeah, Final Cut can be set up to import, create proxies on import. So can Premiere. They all do it. I'm just saying, make sure you do actually get into proxies. David S. says, ouch, it's already tomorrow in Spain. Got to hit the sack. Oh, we'll see you later, man. Yeah, we'll try to get those scripts written and made up. Yeah, and then the Mac One MacBook Pro will throw down on editing. I've never followed the whole Mac stuff, so I'm on PC. I've been on PC for my entire life. So, uh, let's see. What was the comment? Buy more than what you think you'll never be enough. That's kind of true. it, the world is never enough, Bond. The world is never enough. J Tor says, joined in late. I thought your title referred to the 1989 doc for All Mankind. Have you seen it? No, I'm not. Is that about the Apollo program? Because that's pretty, I'd love to see that. I haven't even seen The Right Stuff, honestly. I haven't watched a lot of movies. We gotta watch more movies. I just got the M1 Pro 16-inch MacBook, and it beats them out my custom-built Windows machine, the Ryzen 32 gig RAM. Oh, wow. You got a 3060 in there? Jeez. You were able to get one? Rigel 7, the first computer I used was a Commodore 64. Would not suggest that. I think I would. I think I'm friends online with Tom Antos, and Tom Antos was asking his audience if what camera he should review next, or he should do like a camera comparison video. And I so wanted to tell him to just I want to see the My Little Pony camera in action. I like Tom, but I don't like camera reviews. I think they're so pointless. What's your backup strategy for footage? Good question. So I use a program called GoodSync, and I'm not sure if that when I used it, I was able to get like a perpetual license for it. Now I think it's like an annual license, and it's kind of like I gotta pay an annual license. So what I do is I do have a RAID 0, which is I have 4 drives on the RAID 0. Every day it backs up to a Drobo. So I take GoodSync and I say, copy the entire hard drive to this Drobo. And so it basically looks at what changes every night, and it moves what changes over there. And then every like few days, I also back it up to my Google Drive. And I've got an enterprise through Filmmaker IQ. I have an enterprise account, which allows me to have unlimited storage on Google Drive, which I think is probably a mistake. They're like, shh, don't tell anybody we're doing this. So I've got about, I think I've got about 16 terabytes on Google Drive now. It's kind of insane. Now, that's just a backup strategy. And luckily in the few years, I've never had any issues with that kind of redundant. So I've got an on-site backup, and I've got a cloud backup option too. Now I don't know how I don't know if I don't know if it's I hope it's up to date. I just gotta run it again. Didn't Babylon 5 do their special effects on an Amiga? I think they might have, yeah. Xham Dick says, so odd, I just threw my laptop because I was lagging and editing my footage and randomly came to YouTube watching you, and now you call out the Yeah, try proxies on your laptop. You will be amazed. You're like, whoa, I can actually scrub through this really quickly. Yeah, H.265, which is like the newest codec on the block, right? A lot of cameras. It's fantastic because it's so tiny, but it's murder on like nonlinear editors. Just murder on a computer. It's even hard to play back. So, yeah, try the proxy workflow, and if you might put some new life on your old laptop. See, that's why I'm such an elitist, right? I'm the king elitist. I'm telling people, you don't need to go buy a new computer. You just use proxies. Oh, you're such an elitist. I'm such an elitist. That's the opinion of people. I am the biggest elitist there is out there. Let's see. The Criterion Collection just yesterday announced the 4K UHD version of For All Mankind for April. Yes, about Apollo. Cool. I'll have to check that out. Save to Real, The Godfather. Godfather Part 2, best picture of all time? Okay. I'm not honestly not that big a fan of Godfather. I think it's a great film, obviously, but if I were to say like Godfather or Goodfellas, I'd say Goodfellas. I'd much rather watch Goodfellas than Godfather. I'm sorry, that's just me. It's one of those, what was it, chocolate milk? That's the funny thing. The other day, okay, I hate trudging stuff up, but on the comment section. So the last stream I did, I talked about the Matrix 4 movie, and it's. I think I'm convinced that a lot of people go on social media, and YouTube included in that, they don't really engage or watch the content like you guys are watching. You don't spend time with the person. It's just I'm responding to the title, and this guy was like, I can't believe that the Matrix 4 has a 4.7 on the IMDb, and the new Scream movie has a 7.4. How this is absolutely ridiculous. And I wrote back, just take the red pill and realize that doesn't matter. And he got like upset with me, and they said, I can't believe people don't see a masterpiece when they see it. It's like I don't think Matrix 4. I don't think if you can like Matrix 4, but I don't think the word masterpiece and Matrix 4 really go together in the same sentence. But yeah, the whole point was like, who cares what IMDb thinks? Who cares? Like, who cares what anybody thinks about anything? If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, you like it. Anyhow, you love me, thank you. I'm hoping to be that. I should probably put that in my bio. Toga Oker's favorite YouTube, best of all YouTubers. Thank you very much. I'm not making fun of you, but thank you very much. I appreciate that, because sometimes I feel like reading the comments, I'm like, why am I doing this? Then I remember the people that make comments on videos and people that are angry comments. It's because they got nothing better to do. Have any experience working with virtual LED backgrounds like The Mandalorian? My studio is getting small scale version. I have a lot to learn worrying about mixed reality shoots. Well, you're looking at a very, very cheap LED background. That's what's behind me right here. Oops, go away. There you go. Yeah, that is an LED background. I mean, there is obviously. There's one studio I saw an ad for near LA for a virtual set. It looked pretty cool, but I imagine it's like probably $8,000 a day to rent it, so it's not cheap. But yeah, have a good time with it, man. It looks fascinating. I think there are things that will be very useful for virtual backgrounds, especially if you have really crazy out there designs. Really cool things that you can do with virtual background. However, I think there are times when that's appropriate and that's good and that's really going to look great. But I don't think it solves every issue. But I think you're going to have a blast finding out, because I know I would. I know I would totally. Mindo says, Goodfellas, hands down a better film. Hardest film Bob Richardson had to work on. It was an editing masterpiece. I think Goodfellas is... Scorsese in many ways has been trying to remake Goodfellas for a long time. The people giving out the budgets care what IMDb thinks. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. The people giving out budgets care what the box office says, not what IMDb. Because you got to remember, an IMDb credit score. IMDb score is also subject to basically, it's the same thing as why YouTube got rid of the thumbs down button, right? It's because they're afraid of people coming in and blowing the crap out of it. I think a movie like, I'm trying to think of a movie that was maybe a bad IMDb score but huge box office. I don't think they would slash the budget on that movie, or a sequel to the movie that made a lot of money but had a low IMDb. But basically, here's the thing also. Anybody that's been around the industry long enough, I would say this personally, IMDb is a bullshit site. It is literally bullshit. Like, it is the worst thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to submit anything to IMDb. Like, if you try to like update it's technology from '97. Like, Amazon never updated it. This thing is awful. And there used to be at least festivals where you would enter. All you'd have to do is pay the entry fee, and your movie would be listed in IMDb. So if you want IMDb credits, you just got to spend $50. It's a pay-to-play scam. So IMDb, don't give it any credence. It's not real. It's a largely bullshit site. Sorry to burst your bubble, guys. X-Ham says, sorry. Question, do you remember all the details of your old videos? By the way, your videos are sensational. I I'm pretty good about some details. Sometimes I'll forget a lot. Obviously, a lot. There's a lot to forget, but usually because I do write them, and I do all of the stuff for it. They're pretty embedded in my brain. Yeah, Jack and Jill is so brilliant. Greatest movie ever made. Jack and Jill. I've never seen it, but I heard it's wonderful. Watched Citizen Kane again recently, and the art just Citizen Kane is pretty spectacular. It's not a horror movie though. It is to me. It kind of gets boring halfway through, but it is fantastically well made. Would be cool to watch a few films on an LED wall. The only problem is those little the big LED, the real LED wall. Yeah, not mine. Mine's kind of crappy. There you go. I only check IMDb to check the technical specs of the film. You know that because I've done this a lot. I try to find the frame rate on IMDb. They don't list the frame rate. You know why? Because it's 24 frames. No one shoots movies other than 24 frames. The goofs and trivia sections of the IMDb are good. IMDb used to be a lot better when the site wasn't so utter trash to navigate. Like now, it's just impossible to go through. Like on my phone, like who's the director of that movie? I'll go to IMDb, and I can't freaking find the director or the writer. Writer is probably worse. If we're trying to find a writer, it's like where do I click? Other bio, other cast members? Well, no, crew and cast. No, that's not where. It's just such a poorly made site. It's awful. I think Amazon just gave up on it. I think they're like, well, whatever. It's all crap. Okay, boomer. I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking in your head. You're thinking John's an old man. And that's true. He is old. But IMDb does suck. What's my favorite Iranian movie? I don't know. I know what my favorite Iranian actress is. Is she Iranian? Yeah. Shirosh, Arisara, something like that. I forget her name. The Expanse lady. I love her. Oh my God, she's great. Yeah, Rigel says that's like wine medals. You show up to a wine fest and you get contended. I think, and then there are multiple bronze, silver, and golds. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like oh, you won best cinematography at a 40-hour film festival. Whoop-de-doo. Sorry, guys, but 48-hour film festivals are not. Don't go looking for like career advancement there. It doesn't happen. Yeah, Nate, you're gonna have a blast with that virtual. I would have an app. You're gonna just go nuts. That's gonna be so much fun. I envy you. I love to play with that stuff. I would love to. That'd be cool. Nate Dollar, the 23.978 gang, NTSC. That's us. Oh, I didn't know if it's important, but IMDb also lists porn, and you can find at least the name and cast of a lot of obscene stuff. Well, thank you, Pedro. I didn't think we needed to go there, but you definitely helped us go there. You're talking to somebody that would have wanted to go there, but thanks for that input. That's great. I love it. Oh, it's 3 a.m. where you are. It's in the process of learning proxies for me, just like your other contents. Oh, good. It's sorry to reach you at 3 a.m., but hopefully you maybe check it out in the morning and learn how to do it, and I think you're gonna have a whole lot of fun with that. A couple years I found out I was on IMDb twice. I had to join to merge accounts. Sorry if that's flex. No, somebody put my filmmaker IQ videos on IMDb. I did not put them on IMDb. Somebody else put them on there, so that's weird. I did do a couple films that I put myself on IMDb. I'm not sure if I'm listed on a couple because I did a TV show for. I was the assistant graphics editor for a Discovery show, so I don't know if that's on there. But that show was. I went to the office once and I felt bad for the producers of that show because there was so much like drama between the production and the studio or the executives, and I won't talk more about it because it's out of my right to say. I don't want to badmouth anybody because they may call again, but it just felt like hard to work with a large executives. I got that impression, but people were lovely though. Anyhow, let's jump ahead to the more Rob Hedrick said, latest chat said, long time watcher, the first time commenter. Oh, thank you. Welcome to the live streams, which I think almost every time I do a live stream, I get people commenting, this is crap. You should go back to making the videos the old way. And people realize this is live, and I'm interacting with you people live. Andrew says, for all mankind, talking about the documentary, or no, I'm talking about the new series by Ronald Moore. You can rewind to the top of the show, you'll hear me talk. I won't go over it again. The IMDb app was quite good until this year. Now they don't list what aspect ratios are used. What Tenet had literally 5 aspect ratios in any context. Same with film stocks. Yeah, I know. It just seems like it's getting worse and worse, isn't it, IMDb? Oh, there's a bonus app? The bonus app For All Mankind? I'll have to check that out. I didn't even know that. Okay, here's a good one. What are your thoughts on the Nolan shared universe? Going to rewatch them. There's a shared universe for Nolan? I didn't know that. It's not like the Kevin Smith universe, is it? Where it's just like they're all loosely. Huh, interesting. Yeah, the old videos are an excellent resource, but then you are in person too. I was kind of like I think it was a troll kind of being a dick to me last time, talking about like, oh, your old videos are way better. You should know no one likes your new videos. It's like, well, I think the oldest ones are like 8, 9 years old. I mean, it's people, you have to grow. Like, I can't artistically do the same thing over again. I don't want to talk about it every single time either. Here we go. I'm going to go back to Henry's comment. Do you think the film festival advice vid you made it still works post-COVID? I don't know. I think once we get out of the actual pandemic, it probably would still be true. I think the so if you haven't watched my video about short films and film festivals, my advice was basically short films. You really want to focus on trying to get local, do your local film festivals, and then occasionally go out and if you want, throw it at a Sundance, throw it at a Cannes or something like that, or Tribeca. You probably won't make those, but lotto ticket, right? Might as well. You made a short film, give it a chance. But don't go, like, if you live in, like I do in California, don't just enter the Albuquerque Film Festival, just for the hell of it. Because if you do get in, you have to go to Albuquerque, you have to pay money to go visit and then you probably won't get that much out of going to you might have a fun little vacation, but that's all it's going to be. It's a fun little vacation. It's not really a way to network. It's not really getting you into the crowd. It is admittedly a fun vacation. That's all pre-COVID. What happens after COVID, I don't know. Is the festival thing even viable after COVID? I felt like the last 2 years have thrown us all so far out of left field. Will we be able to come back and do the things we used to do? I don't know. I don't know. Like my movie theater's been open, but I haven't been back in a while. And it's not because, it's because there's nothing I want to see. That will be part of it. But I don't know. Like, I think the advice is still good because I don't think like Zoom calling in. Could you imagine that, going to a film festival, watching a film, and then like, okay, now we have the director on Zoom, put that on the screen. That to me feels just disgusting. I would not, as a director, I would not want to be in that situation, and I don't want to be like, that's just so bad. That's so bad. So I don't know. There you go. Rigel 7. Oh, this starts off like a penthouse letter. Met a couple teen girls from Taiwan at my local film festival a couple years ago. They had 10-minute short film that they looked like weak characters and stayed in the country for about 8 hours to show it. Interesting. I think they thought they were accepted by Sundance, not Sunrise. Oh, shit. Well, sometimes people sometimes they just want to get out of their country and just see the world. And, if you wanted a vacation and you want to, if you want to go see a part of the country you haven't seen and just go show your film at a film festival, go ahead, try it. But I'm just saying, I guess here's the truth. When it comes time to submitting for film festivals, okay, one submission $30, right? But in all honesty, you're going to be submitting to 10, 15, 20 film festivals. And even if your film is really good, the acceptance rate, well, okay, even if your film is really good, if it doesn't have like stars, it doesn't have like something that that will just immediately attract somebody, the acceptance rate is about 10 to 20%. So you're going to spend, $400, $500, $600 to enter all these different film festivals. It's gonna add up. That's what I'm just saying. Like, save your money and pick the ones that you think you can go to, or as you would want to go to. Like, I did the Las Vegas Film Festival. For me, Las Vegas is a 4-hour drive away, and Las Vegas is a blast to go to. So yeah. Anyhow, not sure. I think we answered your question, Harry. Awesome film news for me personally. Cinerama's Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm. Oh, wow. One of the big two expensive to restore films is finally seeing. That is, so I when I was doing my video on that, I could never find anything on that movie. I'm surprised it's going to get like a little restoration. Cool. Cool. Lynch versus Villeneuve versus Jodorowsky. We're talking about Dune. Villeneuve wins that one. If we're talking about Dune. If we're talking about just weird, crazy fuckery, I'm a big fan of Lynch. I'm just a huge fan of Lynch. Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway. Even Elephant Man. I wasn't crazy about the first one, which was I forget the name of it. Elephant Man. No, the first one was not Elephant Man. What the hell was the first one? Oh, Eraserhead. I wasn't that big a fan of Eraserhead. But yeah, like Eraserhead was huge. I don't know if people know how big Eraserhead was back in the day when it first came out. Like, there was that's basically Mel Brooks, like, just loved it. He just so fascinated by Eraserhead. I forget how Mel Brooks was involved, but he ended up like financing or was involved with helping Lynch produce some more movies. I'm not quite sure, but Anne Bancroft's company, because Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft had a production company, and I think they were involved with something Lynch because they loved it. It was just culturally, it was really big, like in a way that you would not think is possible these days. A weird indie movie about a guy with a weird haircut. It's like Boris Johnson. Never mind. Here, could you could find it, but it's like an old crusty Laserdisc releases occasionally TCM airs. Interesting. Yeah, when I did the history thing, I could never find them on YouTube. So, but that was back then, Nate says, I never personally submitted any of my projects to film festivals. I feel like I'd rather upload it to YouTube and let people enjoy it. I would just say there is something about seeing your film in a big theater, especially if the sound is really good. Like, I put a lot of effort in my film called Pitch Black, which is not the one with Riddick, not the Chronicles of Riddick, but it was another film. It was a film, and I didn't even realize there was a Chronicles of Riddick when I named it Pitch Black. It's kind of rip off of a Audrey Hepburn movie. I forget what it was, but Audrey Hepburn played a blind person, and Alan Arkin was a thief, and trying to break into Audrey Hepburn's apartment. But anyhow, my film, I wrote the score. I put like bombastic operatic notes in it, big things. And my favorite showing was in Vegas. It was a stage where Elvis used to perform at the Hilton, and they played it loud, and I was like, oh yeah, baby. And it got a really good review, and I actually had the award that won the festival that year, whatever that means, but I won it. So it's a good little note on my little star by my name. Anyhow. Oh, okay, there you go. Mel Brooks helped produce The Elephant Man, but kept his name off so people didn't. Yeah, exactly. That was the story I heard too. Yeah. He didn't want Mel Brooks presents The Elephant Man, and you're like, this isn't a comedy. This isn't Mel Brooks. Yeah, I love that story. That's a cool story. Thanks for reminding me of that. That's awesome. Ditto for The Fly, though his name got out, and he had some of the fun at premieres by handing out fake antennas. Yeah, people don't realize how like influential Mel Brooks was. Mel Brooks was huge. It wasn't just Young Frankenstein. Maybe maybe I'm working on that. I'm working on that studios video. People of all those videos that I have produced, I think the recent excitement has been around the studios, despite the fact that the studio videos I make never get much views. There is a quite a rabid fan base about those videos. I think partly is I'm uncovering histories that we don't talk about, we don't know about. Like the history about Mel Brooks would be Mel Brooks history would be fantastic. It'd be fun to do because there's so much we don't know about the general audience. They just think Blazing Saddles. They just think Young Frankenstein. They don't know about all the other stuff that they did. Even like Lucy. I was just watching that. I was watching the first half of that movie. I forget the name of it, about Lucy and the Red Scare. And just to think of forget I Love Lucy. Lucille Ball, her role in television history is something that not a lot of people, not a lot of the normal people, the normies, know about. So, Being the Ricardos. Thank you, Rob. Yeah, Being the Ricardos is the name of the show. I watched the first part of it, and I was just tired, and I had to stop it. And it didn't catch me. Oh, the Fly remake was a Brooks film too. Interesting. So yeah, Mel Brooks is going to be something we got to talk about. What do you think about Ingmar Bergman? I don't know much about him, honestly. Sorry. Like it's one of the things I should know more about Ingmar Bergman. I just don't. Like I don't really. Thoughts on Mr. Sorkin's directing? I thought, from what I saw, it looked pretty good. I really enjoyed the way James J. Johnson, whatever his name is, played Fred, the actor that plays Fred. I just love the way his characterization. I mean, I like Sorkin's dialogue a lot, and it seemed like an interesting movie. I just didn't really get into it. Yep, that's what I was gonna say. Lucy saved Star Trek. Yeah, but it was like a lot. She did so much really in that era. It's amazing. It really is. During the war, Mel Brooks used to crank records by Jewish composers to annoy the Germans and make them actually dig some Jewish music. Love it. I love it. Is Kubrick overrated? I think Kubrick is misunderstood. I think Kubrick is often thought of. And we talked about this before. I apologize for your longtime viewers if we're gonna go over it again. But I think people assume that Kubrick had vision of what he wanted, and he was a perfectionist, and he had to get what he wanted. But I think the reality, and I think this has been kind of been teased out through his daughter and some of the work on the documentaries about Kubrick, is not that he necessarily knew what he wanted. He wanted to try everything and then look at it later and then pick the best one. I think that's what people don't understand about Kubrick. So people think that he was an exacting personality. I mean, maybe he was in some sense he was. But I think a lot of the takes were often just do this differently. And they just kept doing different stuff like that. What did you think of that Room 237 documentary? Pure bullshit. like flat Earth level bullshit. Like horrible. It's a horrible fucking documentary. It's awful. It literally belongs in the trash. It's awful. Yeah, you have more credibility in flat Earth stuff. Sorry. Sorry if you liked it. That's what I think about that. Insane to think that Desi invented the 3-camera sitcom format. Yeah. And to think how early it came out too, like 1952, right? 51, 52. And that television had only become a thing in like 1950, really. So it's so quick. And then they shot on film too. They had the inkling to shoot on film and to light it in a film style so that it looks filmic, So, speaking of the 3-camera format, I love that Frasier realized what every other sitcom seemed to forget, that a live audience setup is more theater than film, hence all those facial play episodes. Farcical play episodes. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I guess a lot of people bag on things like what's the name of that show? Big Bang Theory for its overuse of laugh track and all that. Maybe. But I think if you went to a play with a real laugh track, with a play that was really funny, that you would also, if you took heard of all the laughter, it would also feel very uncomfortable. So I mean, that's just reality of. Now, I don't know how many of you guys here have been to a sitcom taping. I, as a filmmaker, I think they're absolutely fascinating to go to, just to see how they do it. And I went to one. I went to a King of Queens, and I was a big fan of King of Queens. I'm not going to be. Look, he's not. He wasn't Paul Blart yet at that point when I saw him in live. I really wanted to see Ben Stiller's dad, Arthur, but he wasn't in that episode. But I remember, and this might just be me blowing smoke off up of Paul Blart's butt, but I remember the taping went really long. But I was so fascinated, like I didn't notice, like it was already like 11 o'clock at night, and people were starting to leave. And toward the end of like the very last scene they're going to tape, Kevin James comes up to the crowd and says, "Hey guys, I know it's a long take. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like you guys are here, and you guys are supporting. It's because of you guys that we can make this show possible. So I just want to thank you so much for that." And just a simple, he's a big star of the show. He didn't have to do that to the audience, but he did that for the audience. And now I'm telling the story, and I just gave him like 30 cents worth of publicity by doing that. So I think if you get to see a sitcom taping, it's so much fun to be in this, in the room and see all the gear, and they're shooting film at the time. Most sitcoms are actually shot on film, believe it or not. Back in the day, they were. But yeah, it was cool to see. I recommend it if you can do it. Yeah, let's see. Nate says, "I heard the reason Kubrick did so many takes was because he didn't know exactly what he wanted, but he wanted the actors to find the right way." That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, repeating the same take, just and to find the right way the only way to do it can be achieved after brutally repeating the same take. Oh, you went to a Big Bang Theory. The last episode it took 4 hours. Amazing to watch camera choreography. Yeah, and to see it being directed and the way they do multiple takes, because they can't do too many takes because otherwise the audience gets bored with the scene. And they have to shoot them all in chronological order. So, or if they pre-tape stuff, they'll actually play it out chronologically so the audience can actually follow what's going on. And then they'll show you the pre-tape. Okay, so everyone watch the pre-tape. And you're supposed to laugh, right? Because they want to record your laugh lines. And then it's just a cool experience. Yeah, every time Kubrick is mentioned, David Fincher is always brought up. David Fincher is notorious for being insane amount of takes, but I get why he does it. He wants to tire the actors out to tap into genuine emotions. So I think David Fincher is a slightly different way than Kubrick does it. And remember, David Fincher also has the luxury of shooting in digital. So you can just shoot forever on digital. You don't have to worry about reloading the film. But yeah, I think David Fincher's approach is a little different, even though they are multiple take folks. And he says, "I appreciate technical knowledge as well. He made a DP find a 1.6 times exterior extender instead of a 2 times extender to convert 360 millimeter to 35. I guess that's in Clockwork Orange, you're saying? Yep. Rob says they actually went and rewrote a joke that didn't get any laughs. Interesting. It's a good way, last minute, change a joke. And it happens. One of my favorite observations you made is you pointing out how old films were never SD. Some think, yeah, I know. Films had the same problem. But it's really a great future-proofing technique. The reality is so many people, somebody was putting on a movie set memes or something like that, and they said, here's a photo from 1976, and it was like black and they were saying that in 1976 there was no such thing as color. And I was like, really? I mean, yeah. I get that comment like almost every other negative comment I get on my 24 frames per second videos is always like, oh yeah, we should go back to shooting standard definition and black and white, you old man. It's like, all right. How long have we been chatting? Oh shit, it's a long time. I should probably wrap it up pretty soon. Since 2:45, so it's 4 o'clock. I gotta go finish that memorial service video. The difference between film and TV is felt in Star Trek Next Generation. All the details of the 35mm film was lost in the SD master, so they had to reconstruct the entire series from that original. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, from the original film. That's the thing that's amazing about like a lot of these old TV shows. They were all shot on film. That's old Star Treks, even all the old Star Treks, all the. Well, I didn't realize because I was chatting with somebody on one of the 24 who did a deep dive into like all the TV shows and what frame rate they were shot on. A lot of them were shot on 24 frames a second. So even though television has given us 60i since the 50s, you go back and you watch Andy Griffith's show or something like that. That's 24 frames a second. They're showing that on television back in the day. I Love Lucy's 24 frames a second. So it's really amazing how long it's been. Old MASH, yeah, MASH is another example. Fantasy Island, A-Team, A-Teams, all this stuff was shot on film. Dallas, only the cheap shows, only like the Norman Lear shows, like Sanford and Son or something like that, was shot on video, where it looked a little different. And unfortunately, it also looks kind of more washed out now because the colors weren't future proofing. Oh yeah. Variotima says the whole future proofing gets on my nerves. People, please just watch Steve Yedlin's resolution demo. I want to do a video too about how I think future proofing is bullshit. I think the actual future proofing, the concept of future proofing, is utter bullshit. And it really, I mean, there was a time period when it did make sense, and that was a time, and I lived through that period. It was the period when we were transitioning from standard definition to high definition, and it was aimed really at corporations for when they're shooting stock video or whatever. Like if you're a corporation and you want to, like, let's say you're a casino and you want to do some stock footage of your casino and it's 1997. Well, they would say, no, well, you should shoot it in HD, even though we're not in HD land yet. Shoot it in HD so you can still use it in 3 years. But why it's bullshit is in 3 years, you're not going to want that footage anymore. In 3 years, you're going to want to reshoot it again because you're going to update your casino or something, So the whole idea of future proofing is kind of bullshit. Like the real thing is shoot in the highest quality you can. Or shoot in the most high quality that makes sense. I think it's probably the better. If you need like some sort of algorithmic rule, shoot the highest quality that makes sense. I think that's like now, should we shoot 12K? Look, that 12K camera from Blackmagic came out like a while ago, and nobody's talking about it anymore. So, I don't know. I don't know about that. Nate Doller says, there's a whole platform problem with Seinfeld in the whole restored versions where they convert. Yeah, did that with Simpsons too. Yeah, they still require the 4:3 aspect ratio. Yeah, but if you look at something like Friends, which I think was shot on film, but it was aiming for HD. So yeah. Let's see. Let's go back to some of the comments if I missed anything. Yeah, I mean, future proofing is more of a happenstance kind of thing. No one was future proofing back in the day. Yeah, and again, I understand the point too when you're talking about like film. If you wanted to like preserve it for a really long time, you want to put it on a physical medium like film, which has a longer shelf life than any basically. Who knows? H.264 in a hard drive, it's not going to last forever. But film at least will last 100, 200 years if it's kept really well. So, I think the best advice probably is to make something that people will want to watch in 100 years. That's how you future-proof something. Because if there's a demand for wanting it in the future, then there'll be then they'll actually like restore it and stuff like that. I like that I like the way there's no one way to make a movie. Rather than complain that X director does something wrong, I like to just think that it's done differently. There's an old saying, I think it might have been like George Lucas. It's like, okay, you can get 10 directors in a room and say, this scene does not work, and you'll have 10 directors giving you all different opinions on how to fix it. Like, it's art. It's quite literally art. And that's what's wonderful about it. That's what's really wonderful about filmmaking. It's not a technical pursuit. It requires technical pursuits, but it's not a technical pursuit. I think one good bit of future-proof thing I saw was with Disney. They were producing their animated shows in widescreen in early 2000s. Something even bigger shows like Simpsons wasn't doing yet. Yeah, and Friends did that too. Friends was like that. A lot of those 2000s shows started doing the 16 by 9. I remember back in the day too. They were, they'd have the framing guides. They'd have a 16 by 9 framing monitor, but they would frame it for 4 by 3. So just so you know, you just know what, like, okay, are we in the safe area for 4 by 3? Oh my goodness, I'm getting tired here. I gotta get going. I gotta finish my video. But I love hanging out with you guys, talking to you guys. I'm glad that capacitance electronic disc didn't catch on. Wow, I don't even know that one. I'll have to look that one up now. I'm so jealous looking at 3-strip Technicolor films. I just think, why can't we recreate that look? Well, we can. It just requires, Remember, part of the 3-strip color Technicolor process is not the film itself. It's actually the art direction. Like if you had the kind of art direction that those 3-strip Technicolor films did, yeah, you could probably do it. You could probably make it look like it. Take it easy, Domindo. I'm going to probably get off pretty soon. Not in that way, you dirty pervs. What are your thoughts on color grading? Oh, come on. I love color grading. I do a lot of it. Yeah, you always touch it up. Scrubs was shot on Super 16. A lot of TV shows are done that way too. Boy. Comments are coming in fast. I saw some shows that were expanded from 4 by 3 to 69. They can see a lot of things that weren't supposed to be in. Yeah, I know. I hear you that. It's fun watching a long-running sitcoms from the 90s, 2000s, seeing when different productions switched to 16 by 9. Yep. All right, man. Well, thanks, guys, for hanging out. I've been on for about an hour and a half, I believe. So that's usually kind of a record. I usually hang on for that long. Yep, hour 26. All right, guys. Well, we'll be back here next week. I'm going to be working on the Fox video, and I think I've got some other videos, and we'll try to do that. Well, definitely. I mean, I got to start writing those scripts, and we'll make that. We'll make the table read happen. I'm looking forward to that. I got some stuff to say. No, but I think the fun thing about the table reads, the way I want to write the scripts is no one's going to be a good guy. No one's going to be a bad guy. It's going to be reality. It's going to be drama. It's going to be life. It's going to be, and they'll be short enough so they'll not be too painful to watch. Let's put it that way. All right, guys. I will see you guys later. Go out and make something great. Do something good. Check out Patreon, blah, 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 all that stuff. Talk to you later, guys. Take care. Bye now.